Hey guys, I'm DrunKev, and here are 5 things that you are fucking up in OBS. Alright, the first thing you're probably doing wrong, using MP4 instead of WEBM. So you can add media sources to your scene, and if you add stuff like MP4s or .movs, .avis, I'm not sure if you can add those will take up more CPU usage to decode than the WebM format, which is used for the web and stuff. It decodes faster, which is something that you usually want on the web because you want it to be faster. But if you put it in OBS, you also gain some CPU usage. So you can see here, I have 3 WebM files. Now I'll show you while I'm recording. You see right now that I'm using the WebM and I am at 8.4, 7.7, 8, 7.9, 8, you know, it's going around there. But this is just 3 sources in one scene. And then if I remove all of these, same exact sources, but they are formatted in MP4 and MOV. I have a mixture here. And you see that my CPU usage does go up by quite a bit. We're seeing like a 3 to 4% increase, which can be pretty significant when you're using, you're streaming and gaming on the same PC, because every percent matters, and this is CPU is taken away from your game basically while you're playing. So using a more efficient format will save you some CPU usage and actually help prevent, you know, when your encoder overloads, if your CPU is hitting 100%, stuff like that. You don't want that to happen. This is just a more efficient format. You get a nice decrease in CPU usage. And here, the program I used to convert them, I have a very quick and easy one called WebM Converter. I've used it, haven't gotten good results with the quality output, even with tweaking some of the settings. So I went for another program called xmedia recode, which I will link in the description. But basically, what it does is it grabs a file of any format and you can convert it to almost any format as well. Here's a big thing you'll see often people do. So they'll rescale their output here, right, in the video. If you have X264 and you do your rescale output here, and you set this to, you know, 1280 by 720 or lower, whatever the hell you want, 16 by 900, doesn't matter. This should basically almost never be checked. So the only use case you would basically use this rescale output here is if you are recording at a higher quality and then you want to downscale just for streaming at a lower quality because you don't have the bit rate or the quality. So if you want to, like, you're streaming at 3500 kilobits per second, this is definitely not enough for a 1080p 60 FPS stream. But if you're recording, you can record at a higher bit rate. The way it works, the pipeline is the GPU composites the scene. Once the scene is composited, all the sources are added to the video and create one image. Basically, it's a flat image, 60 flat images per second. Basically, once those are done, that's a GPU that does this. It is basically, before being sent to the encoder, if it's here, it's going to be downscaled. So this is done after the scene's composited. It's downscaled, and then it is sent to the encoder, which it can be your CPU or your GPU. So if this is checked, the CPU will again take what the GPU said and then downscale it, and afterwards, that's when it encodes it. So it's doing it twice. So it's adding a lot of CPU usage. CPU rescaling is not very efficient. The GPU is really efficient because it's got a lot of cores. It's made to do this. That's why hardware acceleration exists. The GPU is very efficient at doing things like that. So you don't want to rescale twice. The GPU's done it already at a very efficient level. And if you're rescaling twice, you're going to lose some quality, increase CPU usage, which is going to impact your performance when you're gaming, your game's performance. It's going to impact your stream's performance and your stream quality. So it's not, you don't want that. So that is basically it. Don't use rescale output. That's a common mistake. Don't do it. Thirdly, another common mistake people do is they're on a single PC and they've got a 900 series, like a 970, 980, 980 Ti, whatever, 960, a 10 series, 1060, 1070, 1080 Ti or not, whatever. All those cards and above, 20 series, 1660, anything more recent than the 900 series, use NVENC, the NVENC, whatever you want to call it, use it, because here's the thing. NVENC does not use extra CPU usage. You saw earlier when I was showing you the video files that I changed out. Even when I was recording, it was still not, the CPU usage wasn't increasing. It's very, very, very efficient, and it basically doesn't use any GPU resources either, unless you actually change up some of the settings, like the max quality. Over quality will actually use 2-pass encoding. So this is good to increase quality, but it uses more GPU usage. And then here, look ahead, and these are good for what I'm doing with the recording here. When I'm just recording a webcam, that's fine. But when you're recording games or anything that's moving at all, that doesn't have a lot of static image. So when you're moving in an FPS, or you're scrolling in League of Legends or whatever, and even honestly, like at the point where Hearthstone and Rocket League, well, especially Hearthstone, yeah, you might benefit from it, but it's so negligible, and it has more chance. If you increase your B frames, you have more chance of lowering quality than increasing it. In most of the things you would do on a gaming stream, you want to leave this on default. So when you switch to it, you'll see CBR. This will be probably 2,500. You increase it to 6,000 for Twitch, or even 8,000. Twitch allows it. On the server that you're streaming to, then you can use 8,000, but I suggest using 6,000 for most cases to make sure you don't have any issues. And then this too is for Twitch. This is a default. Quality is nice, but if you use max quality, it activates 2-pass, uses more GPU usage. So if you're hitting, these are settings that will affect it. So use quality, leave all these unchecked, and you're basically using 0% GPU usage. Probably a little bit, probably like 1 or 2, but I'm saying, like, in theory, you're not using extra GPU usage. It's using a hardware chip on your GPU. That the only thing it does is encode. It doesn't do anything else. It can't be used for anything else. So it does not increase your GPU usage, because it's not part of the whole architecture, the pipeline of grabbing a frame and rendering it. It has nothing to do with that. It's separate from the rest of the GPU usage parameters. So it doesn't affect your games, it doesn't affect your GPU usage, and it's efficient. If you're CPU bound and you lower your graphic settings and you play games competitively where you get a lot of frames, stuff like that, and you have a lot of GPU headroom, then go ahead and put this on max quality and enable psychovisual tuning. Those are the only 2 things you need to do. Look ahead will not help your look ahead will not help your quality. The amount of B frames needed will change so often that it's actually gonna not actually improve the quality. It's much better to just leave it at flat 2 and remove look ahead in most cases. So your options here are max quality, psychovisual tuning for better image quality at the cost of a little bit of GPU usage, or quality and unchecked for the best performance but a small reduction in quality. In theory, psychovisual tuning will make it so the image is, in theory, like if you use an analyzer, it will look worse, but to a human eye, it will look better. And I think it really helps with high motion. So it's actually really worth having this enabled. And if you do have a 1660 Ti, or any of the Turing cards, the 20 series, basically, 2080, 2080 Ti, 2070, 2060, all those, do not use max quality. It won't improve your image anymore. It'll be wasted GPU usage. It already has image enhancing, not tools, like function. It already has image enhancing functionality in it, built into it, that max quality will not help your image. It'll just waste GPU usage for it. So if you have a Turing card, anything above the 10 series, basically for NVIDIA, just remain on quality and you'll get better performance, and the image quality will be still really good. So that's that. Use NVENC if you're using a single PC to stream. It is very good. And if you have an older card, maybe it's worth just upgrading the card to have at least a 10 series. But I would definitely recommend the entry level 1660 for if you just want to be able to stream on a single PC and maybe side grade your GPU for for gaming purposes. Another thing people mess up is trying to stream at 1080p 60 FPS on a single rig with either X264 or 10 series cards for NVENC and using a bitrate that's too low. And let me tell you, 6,000 kilobits per second is definitely too low for 1080p 60 FPS in most cases. Some games that you might get away with are very low motion games, like maybe League of Legends, Hearthstone. But games have movement and you need higher bit rate. So just because it looks good when things aren't moving, you're in the menus or you're slowly turning, when you do a 90-degree turn or a 180-degree turn, your stream is going to look like a pixelated mess. You're going to have macro blocks everywhere and it's going to look worse than if you had just set your stream down to 900p or possibly more like 720p, especially in the case of NVENC if you are not on a Turing card, 1660 or 20 series cards. So if you're not on those cards, definitely try streaming at 720p here instead of 1080p. And then also, if you are streaming at 1080p FPS, even on a Turing card, I do recommend going above 6,000. Twitch doesn't recommend it, but I recommend it because it'll make a big difference. Maybe not 8,000, maybe 7,500, but definitely higher than 6,000. It's definitely worth using this if you have it, especially on a single PC. No matter how powerful your CPU is, I definitely recommend using NVENC when you have the option to do so. And I do have a calculator that I made a while back, which is you can basically choose what your GPU you have or CPU you have, and it will give you depending on the resolution and FPS that you choose, it'll give you the required bit rate. So you can see if it's unrealistic, and then you can lower your settings until you're within your constraints of your upload speed. The last thing that you're doing wrong is recording to MP4 format. So MP4 is very useful. You can use it in almost any video editing software. You can upload it directly to Twitch, to Twitter, YouTube, and even Twitch now, since you can upload stuff there. You can upload it to most websites. It's a very, very widely used format. But the problem is that when you're recording, if anything happens, OBS crashes or you lose power or whatever, you will lose the entire video. The entire VOD will be lost. So what I suggest to do is you go in output, recording, and you record it in MP4. This is fine. You can leave it in MP4 here because this will make it so your replays, if you use them at all, will still be in MP4 format. Because when you hit a hotkey, it takes the last 120 seconds or 60 seconds, however long you set, and puts it in its own little file. So that is fine because it's unlikely if you lose that, it's not a big deal, right? Because you can it's just a 120-second clip that if it crashes during that, it doesn't really matter. If it crashes and you lose the whole VOD, that's a big deal if you use that for editing, and you can just grab it from the VOD anyways afterwards if it's saved in an MKV. And so you leave it on MP4 here. What's going to happen is you're going to go in advanced and check. This was added quite recently in the last maybe 3-4 updates of OBS. You click on this. What it does is automatically remux to MP4. So it records this MKV, even if you have it set at MP4 over here. And then at the end, when you're done streaming, I'll start recording. And then when I stop, remux recordings. It will do this automatically. Now you could do this manually before, but this will do it for you automatically when you end your stream. You click end stream, end recording, whatever, and then it's gonna start remuxing. And you just have to leave it open until it's done. The longer the video, the longer it takes, but it's because it has to go through all of it. So, but what you can also do it manually, but this is more tedious if you have to do it after every time, or when you want to use the files and you're like, oh, they're all MKV and I got to do this, and so it's quite a hassle. You can add all of them here. You can select a lot of them at once. You can just and it will select all of them, and you open, and then you do remux. It's going to do it all, and then you'll have the MP4 file set right next to it with the same name. So very useful. But yeah, definitely do this if you care about having VODs and you're recording VODs while you're streaming, just in case, because you want to do video editing or extract some clips from it later. Definitely record automatically remux to MP4. Use this toggle right here so that you record as MKV, and if it crashes, you can still, the MKV can still be read using VLC and Windows Media Player and all those stuff. It just can't be used in a lot of editing softwares directly, which sucks. But I like this tool. This is a very nice addition to OBS that makes it very streamlined to go from recording to editing without the downsides of having direct MP4 files that can corrupt. And they're very sensitive to corruption if they're not properly finalized. So that's it, guys. Those are 5 things that you're doing wrong in OBS and that you should probably change. Very simple stuff, guys. These are just things that you need to look out for and be aware of, especially if you're looking at guides and stuff. There are a lot of, honestly, there are a lot of things that you can just use. You can just use this auto configuration wizard and select the little yes or no questions that they ask you, and you'll get pretty optimized settings in the first place. I think a lot of YouTube guys just try to make you use settings that they don't understand, and they just make things worse, or they're not suitable for your case. So auto configuration wizard it'll test your internet, it'll test your CPU and GPU, see what they're capable of doing, and usually select pretty decent settings. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Let me know if there's anything you think I got wrong or I should cover in the next video. I have a lot more to do with this. This is already crammed into a pretty this is already more information than I planned to put in a video, and I can cover stuff more in depth, like if you want to understand how xmedia recode to change your files to WEBM, I can cover that, or you know, show you optimal recording settings, and because a lot of people use stream settings that just make no sense for recording, and also how to manage you know, scenes and scene nesting, so you can group your sources into more manageable ways so that you can reuse groups of them. There's a lot of things you can do, and I can show you guys all this stuff, but I just need to have a little incentive. I need to know what is priority for you guys. So let me know, guys, in the comments, and make sure you leave a like if any of these settings were wrong for you, and now you know and corrected it. So thank you a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.